Welcome back. This is GE 102, also known as Freshman Composition 2 with Ms. Kofer. This class is going to be a continuation of Freshman Composition 101, and we are picking up where we left off with rhetoric, and we're going to apply what we've learned in 101 to our problem solution essay, which focuses on argument. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to review the problem solution essay. We're going to talk about argumentation. We're going to review your first assignment and this week's reading. So, a problem solution essay is a type of argumentative essay. It's going to focus on your ability to analyze a problem and propose a list of possible solutions. And we're talking about problems and solutions that are actually relevant to the world that you live in. You get a chance to show your prowess when it comes to convincing your readers and your audience to take action on a topic that you feel is near and dear to your heart. Here's the requirements. It's going to be 1,250 to 1,500 words. It's about 5 pages. You need to have 5 sources. You need to have it in MLA format. The paper is going to be in 2 parts. For the first section, you're going to focus on the problem. For the second, you're going to argue for a substantial solution or several possible solutions to the problem. First thing we're going to do is choose a topic. This is a critical step before you just jump in and start writing an argumentative essay. You have to choose a good topic and make sure that the topic is arguable and something that can fit into a 5-page essay. Many students fall prey to trying to tackle these big issues, right? And you have to remember that you're writing a 5-page essay and not a dissertation, right? Also, on the flip side, avoid vague problems and solution that you can't quite put a pin in. Make sure that you choose a problem that you feel is significant and affects a large number of people, especially within your peer group. Pick something that you know about or would like to learn about or something that you care about. So here are some topic examples. One is too broad, one is too narrow, and one is just right. Let's read. So a too broad topic. Should artificial intelligence be used in schools? This topic is way too broad because it covers everything from grading to security to lesson planning. It's way too big for one paper. Here's an example of one that's too narrow. Should AI be allowed to grade freshman English essays at Carolina University? This one is too narrow because it's so specific that it doesn't leave room for broader evidence or debate. And here's one that's just right. Should artificial intelligence be allowed to grade student writing in U.S. colleges? This one is just right because it's focused enough to build an argument, but broad enough to find research and multiple perspectives. If you're struggling to find a topic, ask yourself these questions. Is it something that you're interested in? Is it appropriate for your audience? That was a big one when we ended English 101. Mm-hmm. Can I fully develop and research this topic within the time frame and word length required? Is it narrow enough or broad enough to fit the assignment's requirements? And am I able to research this topic adequately enough to satisfy the source requirements? We'll be talking about how to navigate our library research database so that you can find research to support what it is that you are deciding to look up. Let's switch gears and talk about how to make an academic argument. Firstly, what is an academic argument? It is a formal, structured claim supported by credible evidence, such as research and expert sources, intended to persuade a specific audience of a claim. Okay, we're not talking about a fight, all right? We're talking about a clear thesis and proving yourself right using evidence. Okay, these are the key components. You need to have a claim and thesis statement, evidence to support it, logical reasons that connect the evidence to the claim, counter argument and counterclaim. This is an acknowledgement and response to opposing viewpoints or evidence that challenges your claim. You have to have warrants and logical reasoning. This is the explicit explanation of how and why the evidence supports the claim. And of course, credibility. Okay. How are you knowledgeable on this subject? According to Jones, this is the author of our textbook, building an argument isn't easy, and building a convincing argument is even more difficult. To build a convincing and perhaps influential argument, you not only need to have one, a structurally sound argument, claim, reasons, evidence, counter argument, conclusion, but you also need to leverage appeals to persuade your audience, and this should be sounding familiar because we've talked about those logos, pathos. These are the rhetorical appeals. Ethos, that's credibility. What makes you a qualified writer on the topic? You're going to pick a topic that you know something about, that you like, right? That you experienced. Then you're going to back yourself up with outside sources and expertise from other credible sources, okay, to back you up. Logos, this is logic. So this is where logical statements are the focus. And the reader is led to agree with you because your conclusions and implications follow reasonably from your initial assertions or premises. Pathos, and now this one is often misunderstood as purely an emotional appeal, but it's really about finding a common ground with the reader. Okay, this is where you as a writer can appeal to your reader's ethical beliefs. You need to have a good thesis statement. Here are some examples. There are several. You can use a number of words, ways to solve the problem of blank, and then give those 3 ways. Example, there are 3 ways to solve the garbage problem in Riverside: education, improvement of the recycling program, and enforcement of regulations. Or, there are several, use an adjective, solutions to what? There are 3 effective ways to solve the garbage problem in Riverside: recycling, regulation of enforcement, and continuous education. And here's another one. The problem of blank can be solved by XYZ. So the problem of garbage in Riverside can be solved by educating people, recycling, and recycling laws. So one way to strengthen your argument is to show that you have a deep understanding of the issue and can anticipate and address the objections your audience may have. This is what we call a counter argument. You cannot have an effective argumentative essay or speech or whatever it is without addressing the opposing views, okay? You have to be able to accommodate the opposing views and acknowledge the opposing views. And this is all before you give your rebuttal to that view. Okay? In this way, you show that you have a really good understanding of not only your position, but on your opponent's position as well. That you're able to reach across the aisle and work with your opponent and see and understand how they feel. Part of the counter argument is a rebuttal. Okay, you can't just have a counter argument and not turn it around in your favor. Okay, so you acknowledge the opposing view, you explain the opposing view, the counter argument, where they're coming from, but then you have to give a rebuttal. And this is your turn to provide evidence, okay, of why the opposing view is wrong or why your view is more correct. Okay? You have to use evidence in your rebuttal and in the counter argument, just like you do with the rest of the essay. Here's a sample or counter argument and rebuttal paragraph. Though studying abroad offers many advantages, some may argue that a semester or year abroad is nothing but a vacation. It's true that some students choose to treat studying abroad as a vacation rather than the rich academic experience that it can be. The bad actions of a few students should not invalidate study abroad programs as a whole. In fact, in a long-term study of 3,400 students, Dwyer and Peters, 2004, found that a large number said studying abroad had an impact on their worldview, increased their inner confidence, and gave them the skill sets they needed for a career they chose. Clearly, studying abroad is not just a party for many students. All right, moving on to this week's assignment. Your topic briefing assignment is going to be 1 to 2 pages in MLA format. Make sure that you're answering the following questions. Make sure that you read the directions for the assignment. All right, what's your topic? Introduce it. This is going to be the longest section of the briefing. Make sure that it's in paragraph form and not bullet points. So you're going to describe your research topic, define key terms, and provide the necessary background. Treat this kind of like an abstract. Okay? And then your preliminary thesis statement. And I say preliminary because this early in the assignment, your thesis might change. Okay? Make sure that just like in the examples we saw, that you include sub-issues within your thesis statement. That's how you build that support. That's how you let your reader know what you're going to be focusing on throughout the essay. All right, and talk about what are some key issues or questions that surround your subject. What disagreements or controversies are there on this topic? What social concerns intersect with your topic? And then what motivated you personally to choose this topic? Does it relate to your professional or academic interests, future goals, or personal experiences? And why should it matter to your audience? That's your peers and me. Again, make sure that you're using MLA format and doing so correctly. Double space, 11 to 12 point font, Times New Roman is recommended. 1/2 inch paragraph indentations, 1 inch margins all the way around, a left hand heading, a right hand running header with your last name and page number, a creative title, and no extra space in between the paragraphs. Some of you saw that on my feedback to your essays. Remove extra space. You guys, I'm really looking forward to the start of this course. I am excited to move forward with learning about rhetoric and argumentation and picking up from where we left off. I hope that you guys are ready to go and as excited as I am, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.